to not say to a customer is, it's not my job to do. It can really be this, that, or the other thing. As a representative of Stevens Van Lines, you should never say, it's not my job to do that. If a customer asks you to do something that you're not comfortable doing, such as service a front load washer or something like that, you should excuse yourself from the customer and call the move coordinator or point of contact at Stevens to see if it's something that's been pre-approved and ask if they would like you to handle that, or potentially set up the third-party service to get that taken care of for the customer. But just to say it's not my job to do that, nobody likes to hear that.
You know, Katie, that's such a great point, too, because folks think they've taken care of all the arrangements, and a lot of times it hits there, and their lasting impression of us is, are we making their relocation experience easier, or are we making it more challenging? And sometimes it's difficult for us, but finding ways to say yes is really the challenge that drives customer satisfaction, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We have another comment here. I was just going to say, it's sometimes, like Roger was saying, it's how you position it. So maybe it's, and maybe it's not that it's not my job, but it's part of what we need to do to make you satisfied, and your satisfaction matters to us. So let me go do something, call back to my dispatcher or whatever it might be. So sometimes it's positioning your answer in a positive way or in a customer service focused way.
Absolutely.
And these are always challenging to teach our crews, because our crews, well, really, we don't always hire customer service pros. We hire furniture pros, and that's always the challenge. That's why we really wanted to share some of these today. Just reminders that we can get our production employees to think about when they're in the situation in the residence, that they pick up the phone before they say no.
Right. Number 9, is that expensive or valuable? While you may mean no harm by asking if it's expensive or valuable, some customers potentially could take it the wrong way. If you ask if it's expensive, the customer might anticipate the item turning up missing at the end, or at destination. So that already sets a bad, or puts a bad taste in their mouth. If you ask if it's valuable, the customer might think that you're not going to handle the rest of their household goods with the same care that you would with the item that is valuable. So it's really important just to kind of watch what you're saying and asking when you're in residence, and more just, do the job and be respectful with the customer. Number 8, you should never say, I guarantee you. You shouldn't guarantee delivery dates, any additional services, anything that really is not in your control 100%. You have no guarantee on that. One thing that you could say is that you will keep the customer informed throughout the move. We don't anticipate anything happening or any issues coming up, but there are some things that could come up. The customer might run into bad weather, but it is, we find out when your household goods would be delivered. We don't want them to be surprised by anything, and so we just want to keep that communication open and really not overpromise.
I think that the I guarantee you is something that at the moment you don't stop to think, gee, I really can't guarantee that, because what if the weather changed, or what if somebody didn't show up for work, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to kind of practice, and maybe you substitute some other words, like I can make sure that we keep you informed from a communication standpoint and along the whole way, but to actually guarantee you're going to end up getting caught flat-footed along the way.
Right.
And some of the challenge here is our folks sometimes feel cornered when they're in the homes, and that's why as agency owners it's important for all of us to make sure our crews understand that we have their back. In years past, when I've run operations, sometimes the crew feels a little isolated, and that's when they start saying things because they don't know that the folks in the office are going to take care of things. And that's why it's so critical that they know that, hey, Mrs. Johnson, I'm going to make a call to the office, and someone in the office can really back the folks up and give them some information, because it's when you're sitting in front of the customer and you're not getting answers from back at the shop, you start saying things like, I promise and I guarantee that you're not even going to be involved at the other end of the move.
Right. Hang on. We have some questions. I just want to move and see if we can get any of these answered now. We'll wait till the end on these. Number 7 here is you didn't tell us that, and Roger, you kind of, discussed that as well, saying that excuse yourself from the situation to try and handle it, not just guaranteeing the customer, but also not just saying you didn't tell us that. The tone of voice or sometimes the way that comes off is a little snarky, and maybe you can be a little more professional by saying, Mrs. Johnson, I don't have this on my service instructions that we were going to move your shed or whatever item, but let me see what I can do and get this resolved, or see where the confusion came into place so that we can make sure we're all on the same page going forward.
Should I be hearing anything?
That was Roger before. Number 6 is something you should never say is, can I borrow or have, or can I use this? You should always come prepared to residents, have the proper tools necessary to take apart beds, tables, anything that might need disassembly. Never ask, like I said, to borrow their tools. Never ask to use their phone. Can I use your microwave, ladders, or anything else that might come up? You should really be prepared ahead of time.
I borrow your car to go get lunch with the crew.
Yeah, that's another thing. Always ask at the beginning during the initial walkthrough if the customer has a designated bathroom that they would like you to use, so that way you're not asking or just using without asking, a bathroom that they might not use at all. Or another thing that nowadays we're finding is crews are asking if they can have the customer's Wi-Fi password. Well, that just really sets in an uneasy feeling knowing that they can have access to other things in your system. So, well, yeah, it's nice to listen to music and that working, but that should be done, again, on your own time, and be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan. I don't think we need to be playing music in the shipper's residence anyway. We're in their home. It's not our place to take over. It's, all this stuff really goes back to respect, and that's one of those things that it's easy for us to forget, but it really is that we're a guest in their home, and we're there to do something to make their life better. And sometimes there's a phrase that comes to mind, friendly but not familiar, that we've got to teach our folks to be friendly and kind and interested, but not too familiar. We're not their friend. And that's where sometimes our folks, some of our best folks will cross the line, won't they? And they'll get to where it's too comfortable. And that's where we've got to keep that professional distance.
Right. We can't control everything. While this may be true, we should never say that we can't control everything, or saying this happens, this comes up. What you could say is, well, there's some things that are out of my control, such as an act of God. I will do my best to keep you updated as quickly as possible if we do run into any bumps in the road. So it's really taking that proactive approach and, letting them know up front that some things might happen that we can't control, but really the communication piece is very critical there.
And I think that, to remind people and remind ourselves, too, for that matter, that our job is to make sure that they're satisfied. And although we can't control everything, we can work towards your satisfaction. So if something goes awry or if you have questions that we don't know, our goal is to keep you satisfied, and we'll do what it takes.
Number 4, you should never say you need to call someone else or you need to call your salesperson, booker, or headquarters. At Stevens, we strive for total customer satisfaction, and a good customer service would be to try and handle as many problems for that customer as possible and to really make the moving process as smooth as possible for them. If the customer is looking for some paperwork, that's really something that you would be able to assist with by contacting Stevens or your agency directly and saying, hey, this customer needs this piece of paperwork, can we email it over to them? So it's really taking any issues that we can resolve very simply and taking care of that for them.
And that's not to say they might not need at the point of load day to talk to possibly their sales professional. However, we would make that contact for them and take care of that end for them, put them in touch with. So it's not always up to them. We could do it for them.
Yeah, because a lot, they have so much paperwork that they might miss a number or, forgot who their salesperson was when they're moving. They work with so many different people that
call the booker for them.
Right, exactly. You should never ask what's for lunch.
Hey, isn't it?
Sometimes, the customer's paying thousands of dollars for us to pack and move their household goods. They don't owe you lunch. It's your responsibility to pack a lunch, and at no point should you ever ask, hey, what are we having for sometimes breakfast, lunch, if it's a late night? Are we ordering in pizza? No. And like what Judy said earlier, you shouldn't ask the customer, can I borrow your car to go get McDonald's, or even ask the shipper to go fetch food, because, and Roger, you can probably add on to this, but a lot, customers fumble, or they'll ask to go get food, and the crews are fumbling for cash, really hoping that the customer is going to offer up to pay for it. It can be really offensive to customers, especially because they are spending so much for us to relocate them.
Another comment that I've seen on one of the reviews was about the crew saying we can get this done a lot faster if you provide us the food. So kind of like a passive-aggressive threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Katie said, they expect us to be professional and prepared. Now, I live in Arizona, so on a 110-degree day in summer, sometimes we're going to run short of water at the end of the day, but guys, we got to come prepared for it. You know to bring your own Gatorade, your own water, your own food. It's about being absolutely prepared for the job and being professional all the way through.
I think along that same line, I would think if a crew came to my house to move and they made a point of telling me, we're prepared for this and we have extra Gatorade and we have our lunches packed, it just reassures them that, gosh, these people are professionals and they're going to think through all these things ahead of time. Just another reassurance to the homeowner.
Yeah, for sure. You should never say to the customer, you didn't really want that anyway, right? Don't ask the customer if they're getting rid of a certain item. It's the same thing as basically asking to have it given to you. It also can imply that that particular item is junk, saying that, oh, you don't want that anyways. But it could be something that's very meaningful to the customer, and it just creates bad will with them.
And I would think that depending on when that kind of a statement is used, it might feel to the customer like you're trying to rush them. If they're trying to make a decision on what goes or what doesn't go, and you say, oh, you don't want that anyway, that's not worth moving, that's going to make them feel uncomfortable too.
Or that's going to get broken in transit, and then again, that makes them feel like we're unprofessional and not the approach that we want to take.
And I've had those calls the day after the move of the customer saying, I really didn't intend to give that away, but it felt really awkward when your packer started telling me how, she really needs a new ironing board, and that's such a nice one. And it's one of these things that I don't think I've ever met somebody who moves furniture for a living that doesn't have a few pieces in their home that were gifted to them from a generous customer. But, folks, let the customer be generous. Don't be dropping hints. Don't be walking around with your hand out. It's about, again, absolute respect for them, for their home and their possessions.
The number one thing that you should never say to a customer is, I'm not making money on this job, or talking about money in any sense. Don't discuss it in front of the customer. Don't discuss the tips that on yesterday's job or another shipper that we did today, or this one time I received, such a big tip. And, don't say it just so that the customer can hear. You never know if they're right around the corner, or, what you get paid for a day's worth of work is not the customer's concern. So it's really something that should never be brought up.
Along with that, talking about the company in any way, or the booker who actually did the packing, how that the packing's not right, or gosh, they made a mistake when they did the estimate, and this is going to go more. If you have concerns, please, train your crews to call you as their manager, to call the van line, to call the booker direct, and run those concerns through the appropriate channel, because it's not our customers' responsibility to figure these things out. And it upsets them to hear these things.
We reached out to different departments, and these came from our corporate move center, some dues. And we took a couple of them, but do give directions to the home. And again, especially at delivery, don't expect the customer to know how to get to their new home and across the country when they're not very familiar with it.
And guys, even if it's their current residence, it makes people crazy in this age of modern technology when everybody's got a GPS on their phone and in their car, when we say we're so professional we can do everything for you, but I don't know how to find Maple Street.
Yeah. Or, gee, I'm on such and such a street. Can you talk me in from here?
Right. Always be respectful to the customer, their family, and their home. Any of their, you don't want somebody coming in talking rudely, or, we just always be respectful and always act professional at all times as soon as you pull into residence and until you leave.
And folks, we really encourage you to go through this with your crews. We focus on so many things. Our crews are out there, and they've got to handle furniture. They've got to do paperwork. They've got to follow all the laws and rules and do logs. But, folks, this is one of those reminders, and that's why we at CAD wanted to offer this out to the agency family as a reminder for all of us to keep teaching our crews the same information, because it's mission critical that they get reminded on a regular basis on conduct in the homes.
We have some flyers which we can send out to you guys, but these are uniform do's and don'ts. You can see the first one, the person with Stevens is dressed nicely and shirts tucked in. They're dressed for the weather. It has Stevens logos on it. And then again, you can see the second one too. So no hats that have other sayings other than Stevens or your agency on them. No holes in your clothes. No jeans. So,
folks, this really goes to first impressions. The first 3 minutes sets up so much of the entire day. And I say this not only as someone who's run moving companies, but I've been moved enough times by crews, and I watch how it impacts even my wife. The difference that the tone your crew sets in those first 3 to 4 minutes is immense. When the guys manage to get themselves tucked in and tidy, buttoned up, I used to tell my drivers, I don't care if the button-up shirt comes on, it's a T-shirt the rest of the day, but approach the customer for the first time, looking your best, dressed your best, organized, and it even goes to the home protection kit. I love when a crew comes up to the front door, you introduce yourselves, they see that you're all dressed, you're in uniform, and as soon as they invite you in the home, the helpers already are breaking out their home protection kit and starting to take care of their home. When you get the customer to go from, I'm nervous, I'm not sure if I can trust these people, to, wow, they clearly are going to take care of me, they're polite, they're respectful, I can relax a little bit, it's going to change the outcome of the entire day many, many times.
Absolutely. We have some, again, from our corporate move center and our different departments, some never argue with a fellow crew member in front of the customer, and that kind of goes back to, what Judy had said earlier. Never badmouth the booker or the hauler or anything like that. Never swear, use bad language, or even talk about the customer, because again, you never know where they're at in their own home.
And a couple corollaries to that. One is there's a generation gap that goes on, and my kid is in her 20s, and there are things that her friends consider to be normal, polite language amongst each other that people as old as me in my 50s don't find to be acceptable or polite. I don't think it's going too far to kind of go back to George Carlin's words you can't say on the air. What are these things, and define them with your crew? I mean, I think everybody can agree that F-bombs are inappropriate, but, what kind of language is acceptable? Another one that comes into play, I've had a lot of bilingual crews work for me over the years. When your crew is in residence, they should not be speaking any language other than English in that customer's home. If you want to do it out in the truck or away, that's okay. But if a customer hears you speaking in another language in their home, the only assumption they're going to make is they're saying something that I'm not supposed to hear. They're talking about me, they're telling secrets, or that's, again, part of respecting their home is always, always, always conducting our business in a language that is familiar and understandable to our customer.
Mm-hmm. Another one that is kind of a pet peeve for people, but a lot of people don't realize it is, rather than a response of no problem to somebody, say thank you or certainly. No problem means, oh, it was going to be a problem for you to do your job. Be cautious of those little things that we all fall into the habit of doing.
Never smoke or leave butts or trash in the customer's home, especially, military shipments that can be grounds for letters of warning and possible suspensions and stuff. So always take that into consideration. And, we've touched on it a couple times, but never help yourself to a customer's food or drink or, it's just not appropriate.
Another one that I saw comments on in one of the reviews was chewing gum. Maybe it was like Nicorette gum, I don't know, but going outside your house and seeing a bunch of chewed up chewing gum that people had said, not a good thing.
But they throw it on the ground?
Yeah. Or they spit it out, probably.
Ooh.
I don't know. It wasn't me, of course.
All right. Do we have any questions or Any comments from anyone else? If you could just put it in the questions box, we'd be more than happy to.
Carlos had a.
Or what did we miss?
Well, Carlos had I guarantee you, he suggests that we can guarantee that we'll give excellent service. Well, sometimes, despite our best intentions, something out of our control can happen. You can say, you know, there are a lot of things I can't guarantee. I can guarantee that I and my crew will attempt to provide the service that you deserve, expect, and are paying for.
We have another question. Is there any way we can get this PowerPoint emailed to us? I'd be more than happy to email the PowerPoint out to the attendees, but also this entire presentation is on Stevens TV, which you can access right from your Stevens through SBL Online. It's on the main page there, so everything's recorded, but I would be more than happy to email this out to everyone.
The other thing that you could probably do with that, Katie, would be the URL to take people, to remind people how to get to the YouTube video, which was depicting some of these positives and negatives, and Joe Bistner's in it, and Katie's in it as a little elf, so it's kind of a fun one to look at too.
Yeah, I had a chance to look at that. Take a look.
Yeah, there was some great modeling of conduct in the actor provided for us. One of the strongest points I thought was at about 4 minutes into the video, where he sits down with a customer and says, the thing that I think will drive better reviews than almost anything else our crews can say, and it is simply that my job is to make sure you're happy, so if at any point today things are not going the way you expect or you have concerns, please, please, please stop me, let me know, and I'll fix them. When I moved about 3 years ago, Stevens moved me to California, my driver, one of the things he did was about every 2 hours, he stopped loading the truck, stopped what he was doing. He came in and sought out my wife, sought me out, and said, hey, I just wanted to check in. Are you still okay with everything? Is there anything I need to be aware of? Is my crew still doing what they should do? Those kind of check-ins help us find out in real time if there's a concern happening on the customer's part so we can respond to it.
Yeah. Another little trick or approach that I've learned in helping organizations with customer satisfaction surveys and getting positive results is to sort of reinforce the scores, and not to say that I want you to score me high, but maybe you say we're striving for excellence, and we're striving to earn excellent scores from you.
We had another comment by Carlos that never ask the customer to load this onto your truck. Even if it is just a small box, it's definitely not they're paying for that service. So again, do not do that. And make sure when you are leaving the residence that you say bye to the customer, or you do a final walkthrough and make sure that everything that was to be going is packed up and loaded on the truck and nothing was missed, no cupboards were missed. That's a good way to excuse yourself from the home.
And that's something I think that Joe did a nice job of role modeling in that video also.
Right, yep. So yeah, I will for sure send out the PowerPoint and add the URL to the YouTube video. And
yeah, talk about next month's topic.
Absolutely. Next month, our Back to the Basics webinar is payoff of accurate in-home estimating. So we're looking forward to that because really that affects an accurate in-home estimate affects so many people and can really get the move off to the right step. And if you don't have one, that's the sure way to get it off on the wrong foot. So. All right.
Can I just put one more plug in for Roger Wise did a nice job on LinkedIn to set up a group that is for agents and Stevens employees that want to go to kind of a sharing forum, and we will try to remember to post some of these on there so you can see them there as well. But if other ideas come up and you want to share with each other, I think that's an excellent place to do it. In fact, Katie, if I get you the link and the name of the group, maybe that can go out with things too.
Yeah, yep, we'll add it on. The webinar is January 15th at noon. All right, guys. Well, again, we appreciate it, especially, you know, how busy things are, and we wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.